Kyler, how's it going, man?
Dude, I appreciate you so much for doing this.
Yeah, man, no problem.
My co-host, he's running a little bit late. He just got to his office. He should hop on any second, but we'll go ahead and get started. Welcoming on the show today, Brendan Fitzgerald, Fitz Nation podcast, UFC play-by-play and announcer, also the host of On the Line on UFC Fight Pass, along with Yanni the Greek. Yeah, I do want to talk about that. So just a little shot in the dark, a little wild shot in the dark here. In an alternate
Okay.
universe, Brendan Fitzgerald is a huge sports betting degenerate. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, shout out Z's MMA. I don't know if you know him, but got his mug right here.
Oh, there you go. Hold on. So what's the question? Am I a degenerate?
Yeah. In an alternate universe, would you be?
I don't know. Maybe it's fun to have a little skin in the game. I actually used to work at a sports book when I was younger. So I have the experience in that world and I know all about it. But it's not, I like it, but I don't, I'm not like one that has money on every game. I don't have to have money on every game to watch it type of thing. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Would you consider yourself a sharp of any kind?
No, definitely not. That's why I don't bet as much because I know I
Are
know
you?
I'm not sharp.
I think I've heard this question asked before. I know people have asked Rogan about it. Are you allowed to bet on the fights?
No.
Okay.
It's against UFC policy for any employee of the company to bet on UFC fights. That's a little bit different for like people that aren't actually staff employees, like fighters. Fighters can bet on themselves,
Mhm.
fighters can bet on fights, all that sort of stuff. But they're not like it's kind of a different category, but no, we can't.
Gotcha. So they're more of like contractors and your actual employees of the UFC.
Exactly.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So before we talk fighting, and there's a lot we can discuss and we could discuss, but I want to start with your background a little bit. I did cheat. I read a wonderful story by Steve Luttrell. You were a local sports newscaster basically for a few years. Eventually landed at ESPNU,
Yeah.
only covering basketball and football. Am I right?
Well, I was at ESPNU, so I was covering college sports. So we kind of
Yeah.
did a lot of different college sports, but obviously football and basketball are the big two in terms of college sports that people follow. But we got into baseball here and there, and softball and volleyball and hockey and other things. But obviously, a majority of the time was spent on football and basketball.
Okay, so you're at ESPNU and you get the word that a new show called Dana White's Contender Series is looking for commentators, and you think to yourself, "Hey, even though I've never called a fight before, that feels like a natural thing I should try out for, right?"
Well, I mean, I got laid off by ESPN.
Right.
So I got laid off by ESPN, and then the UFC called me because they saw that I got laid off and they were looking for broadcasters. It wasn't like I was at ESPN enjoying life
Okay.
and then was, looking for a change and thought, oh, this is a show. Like it wasn't really public knowledge that they were coming out with this show. And it wasn't like there was a help wanted ad posted on the internet like, hey, the
Right.
UFC is looking for new broadcasters. It was more like the UFC knew that they were launching the show. So they were, looking for, sports broadcasters and announcers that could possibly call fights. And being part of a very public layoff with ESPN because I was let go when they let go of like 100 people on the same day. And that sort of, they had, a massive cut. It was a big news story in the world of sports broadcasting. And so, my boss kind of had his eye on that, knowing that there was going to be a bunch of people let go. And I was one of them. So he gave me a call, said, we think you have the potential to audition for Contender Series. This is a new show that we have coming up this summer. And so let's get you on tape and
Yeah.
see what you can do.
And you nailed it. You just called a
And I
fight.
nailed it.
Hey, yeah, and that's the first fight you had ever attempted to call.
That's right. Yeah.
Man, that's it. So, were you a fight fan before though? Obviously, right?
I was a little bit of a fight fan, but I was like a crossover fight fan. Like I was like the, the casual, if you will.
See,
Ronda
actually,
Rousey's fighting.
the segment we're actually on right now, so we're on Berkshire Bubble, but the segment is called Hardcore Casual. So you're the hardcore and I'm the casual. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, like, I mean, the thing is, when you cover college football and basketball, that is all Saturdays. There's 300 college basketball games every Saturday. There's 100 college football games every Saturday. So when your job, which is what my job was, is to cover college football and college basketball, that didn't leave 6 hours on a Saturday to watch the UFC, So I would watch it for the biggest events, because then they're on late at night on the East Coast and, done with work. And if you're out with friends, or even during work, we would have the fights on, like if they were the big fights, Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz and Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm, and some of those, just the major fights that cut through and were huge sporting events, we would have them on at work, or go to a bar after work and catch the fights. But on a week-to-week basis, I just couldn't. It wasn't possible. It's the same. Like, if you're a huge hockey fan, growing up and play hockey and all that other stuff, and then you get into sports broadcasting and all of a sudden you're an NBA announcer, that leaves a lot less time to actually watch and follow hockey. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the reality of when you get older and when you kind of get into this business. It forces you to kind of pick a lane, and become an expert in something, or you can anchor Sports Center and then just kind of go shallow on all different sports that are going on. There's different ways to do it, but there's only so much time and energy and things that you have going on, in addition to family and life stuff. And so it's just, you gotta kind of choose what you put your time toward.
Brendan, Josh Owen here. Great to have you on. Huge fan. You hit on a couple of things that I'm real big on. There is, being able to put yourself all into one aspect, and that's really what you dive into. Or you could choose to be a little shallow and be a jack of all trades, as they say, master of none. That's the saying there. So I mean, I'm super about that. If you find one thing that you really like, put yourself all into it, dive into it. Obviously, thank you for coming on the show. I want to go a little bit further than the past. I'm glad that you and Kyler went through that. Now I want to go to the present day, especially last year. Can you talk us through some of the challenges that you personally went through switching to no fans and the COVID, and just doing what you do in that kind of arena?
Yeah. Good to meet you, Josh. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I think the big challenge is there's not the crowd to support us. There's, when you get a big knockout, there's not like this huge kind of soundtrack that goes along with it. Largely, it's the announcers on the broadcast that are putting a stamp on it. And then I would say the biggest challenge in the pandemic is just not having interaction with everybody that we used to interact with, not seeing fighters in the hotel lobbies, not being in person with the fighters. When we talk to them during the week, it's virtual. Even our producers and like our crew in the truck that we would be in, some city across the globe, Auckland, New Zealand, and going out to dinner after work, like that's not happening anymore. And so you miss those times to kind of build friendships, build camaraderie, feel like, I know we're all pulling in the same direction. We're all trying to put a great show on, but it's a lot different when we're just at the apex each week, and it's plug and play, and we're not exploring a new city, and we're not spending time outside of work together. Then you kind of like lose that teamwork aspect of it a little bit. Luckily, our bonds are strong enough where whenever we do hang out, even around the office, it's still a good time. But I'll be looking forward to that coming back, just as much as the crowd.
Ariel touched on Ariel. I'm glad his show's back. MMA Hour. Great to have that back on the air. He touched on the Apex, saying that it's become a little bit bland now. In the beginning it was niche. It was quaint, but now it's become a little bland.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Well, the thing is, when we came back with the Apex, we were the first people back. We came back in Jacksonville with no fans, and then so there was like no live sports, and then all of a sudden the Apex was the building that was operating with live sports, and Fight Island and whatever avenue we were doing, and then slowly other sports joined back in. The NBA and the NHL created their bubbles, and then the NFL have their system, and baseball had their system, and all these things. And now to the point where when you watch other sports, there are fans. And when you watch the UFC, it's only fans once a month, essentially, for the pay-per-views. So I think that's the big difference is when the Apex started, it was cool. This is Fight Club, and this is live action, and this is actually live sports, and we don't know what's going to happen. And it's not just pandemic talk and all this. That was awesome. Then other sports joined in, and it was still cool, but other sports were back, but they didn't have fans. So then we're all on the same kind of playing field. But now when you see a hockey arena full of people during the NHL playoffs, basketball arenas that have fans, baseball stadiums have fans, and then the Apex doesn't have fans. So I think you have the stark difference, and it's just the difference in our sport where and the way that we operate, basically. Like, we can have fans, obviously we do. In Houston there was fans, in Las Vegas for McGregor there was fans, but in terms of how our organization is run and what makes sense right now, the Apex is still what we need to use until things are really open. I mean, we're getting spikes all over the place again, so I don't think it makes sense to try to trot around the globe, and there's a lot of countries that wouldn't let us in. So in terms of having big events inside. So we're still, it's a case by case basis on what events, and we're just limited to certain things still.
Yeah, we see that, we see it all over the place, it's just, I think everyone is just tired and ready to get on the other side of whatever this is, whatever the other side looks like. I think we're all just ready to get there. But you guys have just such especially your job is just so intriguing when there's no fans, or like you talked about the camaraderie. Obviously a lot of the people have been in the business for a little bit, and you have all gotten to know each other, so when you do hang out, it's just, it clicks because we all have Zoom and we're all talking to each other anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Social media, but it's just not the same.
No, it's not. I mean, it's like, I'm trying to deal with it the best I can. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you go around thinking about it, then it's worse. If I go to work on Saturday and I'm just like, still no fans, this sucks, then I'm not going to be as excited on the air. The show's not going to be as exciting to watch as a fan. I'm going to have the wrong attitude. And so I try to keep my frustrations like inside my house, I'll vent to like my wife and just be like, I can't wait. It's so frustrating, and just kind of vent and then get it out of the system and be like, cool, now it's time to go to work. It's time to do a great show. We're going to have great fights. I'm going to have a blast with whoever I'm working with and all that stuff,
Well, then on the flip side of that, it's, there's no fans in the arena, and that part of it sucks. But at the same time, that means there are more people that are listening to you do what you do. And you have a better opportunity to give a great show to more people.
You could say that. Yeah. I mean, there's opportunities in everything. I mean, I'll tell you what, the pandemic has sucked. I mean, it's been awful. But shoot, man, I don't know if I would be as good at the piano if I still had to travel all over the place, and, new hobbies and more time with family. And like, we've all kind of picked things to do with our time. And I think the challenge is, and it's totally possible, is to make good use of your time, learn something new, find a new hobby, like get creative with how you interact with your friends and that sort of thing. So it's all in how you look at things.
You mentioned you were laid off by ESPN, and UFC sought you out to bring you back as a commentator, as an announcer for their show, Dana White's Contender Series. Now the UFC, it's one of those brands. I mean, they're real picky about who they put in front of their camera. They're real specific, and if you're not good at it, you're not going to do it twice. And don't want to toot your own horn here. I know you're not going to, but you become one of the true faces of the UFC, of calling the UFC. How cool does that feel?
Right. Yeah, man, it's kind of wild. Like I'll give you a good story. And I don't know. I've never told this, I don't think publicly, but we were doing a meeting. We were doing a conference. We were doing a meeting in a conference room for our betting show for On the Line. This was this in the early stages of it. Daniel Cormier did it. So it was back when we were doing it with Yanni and then a fighter. Bisping did a bunch of them. Michael Chiesa did one of them. Tyron Woodley did a few. And one week, because of the scheduling or whatever, they brought Cormier in to do it. And it was like 2019, maybe early 2019 or something like that. And Cormier was like sitting at the end of the table, and he was like pointing at me. And he was just like, "Look at this guy, Fitzy, huh?" He's like, "Look at this guy." He was just like, "You were just the Contender Series guy, and now you're hosting this show, and you're the big UFC name, man. They just brought you in for an audition. You battled through, and this is you. This is your show now, man." Like, you know, and he was really building me up, and he's, you know, and I'm just kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I was, you know, I didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? DC's one of those guys. He makes everyone feel good. He knows how to make everyone feel good. He's just one of those personalities. And then so like I kind of looked to, you know, the producer or whatever, and like the meeting started, and he's like, DC's still looking at you. And I look over, and DC still is like, "You're the guy, man. You know, whatever." So
I'd be
it is
beat
wild.
red.
Like, it's just, I think it's sometimes you go after what you want in life.
Yeah.
And other times life will find you with opportunities. And this is the latter. This was one of those things where it wasn't on my radar to think that I'm going to be calling fights, you know, and thinking I'm going to be, forget traveling the country, traveling the world. Most of the announcers that I know that are friends are NBA announcers or college football announcers, and they're going to the same college towns over and over. They're going to these NBA cities. Like, I've been to Auckland, New Zealand. I've been to South America like 10 times. I've been to Europe a few times. Like, I've been to China at this point. So it's something that's awesome. You know, it really is awesome. I would have never picked out that this would be the job that I would like the most, but that's what's happened. Hopefully France next year, huh? I've told them I would love to go to Paris. I've told them it's always been on my list. So if that show gets scheduled, they know that I would like to be a part of it. Definitely. Are you on the team this weekend? I don't lobby too hard because I don't want to be high maintenance. I don't want to be the talent that's high maintenance and where's my stuff and get me this and whatever. Yeah, where's my water in my some movies and stuff. Yeah. But what's it called? You know, sometimes I'll throw in. I just be like, "Hey, just saying, would love to go there."
Yeah, you just got to float it out there. You got to throw the breadcrumbs.
Throw it out there because, you know, the people that are in charge of making the stats, like, I'm friends with them. And so it's like, good. Let's go have a fun weekend. You know what I mean? I'd love to go there. I know I can't work every show, but I'd love to go go here. And next time you can just mention the guys from Burst Your Bubble would also love to go too. Just, you know, if you could just remember to mention that'd be great. Let's pay their way and let's get them to, you know, UFC Paris.
We'll fly. Finally, someone who gets it. I'll
buy my plane ticket.
So, Brandon, what is your favorite or one of your favorite fights that you've gotten to call throughout the years?
Yeah, I have the same question. I need top 3.
Yeah. So, I generally give the same top 3 of Cowboy Cerrone in Denver, 25th anniversary show. Got the record with that win for most submissions and most finishes and most wins in the UFC. And then Uriah Faber returning in Sacramento, first round knockout in his home city after 4 years away was wild. What else? I mean,
you standing up and screaming "California Kid" 3 times and holding your pants and it's magic. It's magic. Those the UFC putting those cameras there, that's the best marketing strategy I've seen in sports commentating in a very long time.
Yeah. And so just the nature of how close we are and just the visceral reaction that you get. I mean, we're just reacting like everybody else reacts when they watch a fight, but some people are on their couch in their living room and we're 10 feet away from the action with microphones on. So you just got to not swear and you can keep your job. The third one, if you go top 3, that one can change. That one can change depending on what I'm thinking about or what I enjoyed about it, for as good as the Uriah Faber one was, and how it was losing control, I also appreciate sometimes when you can see a finish coming and kind of know to build up to it. So another one that I always like was Korean Zombie over Hanato Moicano in the main event
Ooh,
in South Carolina, June 2019. I just feel like it was a good piece of television. It was
yeah.
like we just kind of knew the finish was coming, and so
It's
my
funny.
call was pretty clean. And then speaking about fans in an arena to support as a soundtrack, like me and Bisping just didn't talk for like 45 seconds, and Zombie just kind of sat up, and the fans were like chanting his name, and it was just one of those cool TV moments where you just kind of say wow, and then you stop talking, and everybody can
Yeah.
live in the arena with the pictures on TV. So that's probably my other one.
Well, that works out so good, because that was going to be my follow up to that. Was, there are fights that you obviously you get to watch and enjoy the fights as they're happening, and those can play into your top three. But one of the fights that you just feel like, what, I did the best that I've ever done in calling him in a fight, and I just feel great about my performance. Does that kind of fall into that same fight?
Yeah, that one was good. And then just because yesterday was the anniversary, so I saw
Yeah.
ESPN put it on Instagram, or ESPN MMA put it on Instagram. But Corey Sandhagen and Yuri Alcantara, which was I think it was a prelim.
Yeah,
It
it
was,
was.
Corey Sandhagen, I think his second UFC fight at this point, 2018, August of 2018, so 3 years ago.
When he was trapped in the arm
Yeah,
bar.
like, what's that?
When he was trapped in the arm bar.
Yeah, when he escaped the armbar, and then he finished it in TKO
Yeah.
round 2. That was a great night. Lincoln, there was 9 finishes that night, and then another fight call that I thought was well done, that I don't say a lot, but I probably should, is Anthony Pettis knocking out Wonder Boy. I think that that one was just pure shock of the moment, like a lot of people, where you have Wonder Boy was tuning him up for 2 full rounds and then one big punch, and it's like, what the hell just happened? And I just kind of said, Anthony Pettis, whoa. But you say it in the right kind of way and then lay out, and that was that's another kind of good thing.
That's one thing that you and Anik are two of the best in the game at, is, and it's knowing when to lay out. It's knowing when to get in there with the play-by-play, with the action, then when to lay out, let the crowd react, let the fighter, even in the apex, even when there's no crowd, let the fighter emotions pour out. And y'all are great at really laying out for that. And I apologize for that for sure. Are you on the team this weekend?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I am. Yeah, me Felder Bisping.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so
people seem to like our trio sometimes.
Definitely. So Edson and Giga is the main event. Of course, Giga is. It's going to be a kickboxing match, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's all striking. Somebody was just like, I think both of them are going to shoot a takedown. I'm just like, have you watched any of their fights? Like, these aren't takedown guys. So no, I think we're going to get a striking battle. Not to say it's like not possible that it goes to the ground. I think Barbosa is probably more well-versed in that area. And so if he thinks he has a big enough edge there, then maybe. But yeah, man, I think we're 2 guys kicking the crap out of each other for 25 minutes or less, depending on how long it can last. And Giga's this rising prospect, quote unquote, right? But he's 33. And Barbosa's, I think, 35. So Giga is older. He's had experience. His experience has come in kickboxing. He crossed over to MMA. He's had 15 MMA fights. He's obviously doing well. 6-0 in the UFC. His last 2 performance of the night bonuses, first round knockouts. So he's the unproven commodity right now, I think. Biggest win on his record is Cub Swanson, but other than that, his strength of schedule is certainly not up to par of Edson. And Edson's fought Felder twice, Habib, Kevin Lee, Beneil, Tony Ferguson. I mean, you name it, Edson's fought him. So, it's an interesting crossroads in that sense.
And speaking of Kevin Lee, he's on this card. And in an alternate universe that we were speaking about earlier, Kevin Lee is probably a defending champion right now. I mean, he's had a streak of bad luck in the UFC.
A little bit. I mean,
not really bad. I shouldn't say bad luck. Yeah, just simple mistakes.
He's fallen short when people thought he was gonna just be kind of skyrocketing.
Yeah.
He lost to
Tony.
when he lost to Ferguson, and since then it's been up and down, right? Up and down. Like he tried to go up to 170. He beat Edson in a main event, but he missed weight a few years ago, and then he tried to go up to 170.
Which he is
Lost to
170.
RDA. Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy. He's a big guy, but he lost to Rafael dos Anjos.
Yeah.
And so then he went back down to 155. And then, Gregor Gillespie, super impressive, takes his 0 with a head kick knockout and all that. And then Charles Oliveira. Now, the thing is, he's always fought the top guys. Like he went up to 170 and fought RDA. He didn't go up to 170 and fight somebody not ranked or somebody 10 to 15, fought a guy in like essentially the top 5 or the top 8 at that point. So he's always... it's kind of like Kelvin Gastelum, not totally, but just in the fact that like he's not in there against anybody outside the top 10. So when you take a couple of losses, it doesn't mean that they don't belong. It doesn't mean that they're not a contender. It just means that the results don't match up with it on those nights. But I think a lot of people are intrigued to see what he does against Daniel Rodriguez, who's I think 5-6-1 in the UFC, something like that, and not ranked, but on the cusp of it. And,
is there a reason they're
Lee's been out for long enough, where he says he's, grown into his body a little bit more,
Is there a reason they're having the Ultimate Fighter semifinal fights on the co-main event fights?
The tough finale.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because there were two different weight classes this year. That's right.
Yeah. So they're the finales. Yep.
Why aren't they doing that on the Ortega Volt card?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that anymore. I was under the understanding that that's what they would used to do, but probably just too much time to wait. The show, there's 12 episode season, and the 12th episode aired last week. So I think they like to follow it up and pay it off instead of.
Did you like
here's
it?
The season, and now you got to wait. It was cool. I mean, to be honest, I was just hoping they were getting a little more creative with the return of it. Like the Ultimate Fighter's back. Okay, what's version 2.0 going to be? Like, what's the new Ultimate Fighter version going to be? And it's like, oh, it's the same thing as before. There's a place for it. I don't know. We'll see how. I don't know what the numbers are and the ratings and all that sort of stuff. The fights were incredible. I mean, the fights were really good. I thought the fights were awesome on this season of the show, and I think there's some legit prospects on their way.
Definitely. I found myself watching every episode, but I found myself fast forwarding to the fights.
Yeah, and that's dependent on the personalities. That's dependent on the fighters, and you got to let everyone kind of go their own way and do their own thing. But I want to almost like be a consultant with these up and coming MMA fighters and be like, if you're on a show where they're following you around with the camera, like make some noise, like do something.
Let's
like,
not
you
talk
can
about
like
your girlfriend
everybody
the whole time.
Well, just like you can, and you can. There's room for that, but just like whatever it is, like even if you show any personality, they'll gravitate towards you. They'll feature you on the show, and then you'll be recognized. You don't have to shit talk everybody in the house all the time and be an a-hole. You don't have to do that. You could. That would help your career. That would definitely help you.
Let me bang, bro.
You could be the guy that sings when he cooks his breakfast. You could be the guy that
the dude that shears the llamas.
You could be the guy that's gonna see how big your belly flop can be in the pool. Like, just do something, and people will turn it into a GIF. They'll put it on social media. They'll remember your name. They'll look forward to watching you fight. Like, so I was kind of disappointed in the fighters, just like, okay, like, come on, give me something. It's a show. So that's what I was waiting for that we didn't get.
More reality-based show would be cool. And with actual fights at the end of it. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
A big brother type of thing, but like they actually have to fight. That could get pretty contentious.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if you can get away with that one. So, Brendan, obviously, you're on camera, like I said earlier. You're one of the face of the UFC. Obviously, you got to stay in shape. So, what's the regimen? What's the workout regimen? Obviously, you're
Oh
around all these
yeah.
guys all the time. So what is it for you?
I've tried some different stuff. Like I was doing jujitsu in late 2019. I started doing jujitsu and I really liked it. And then, all of a sudden rolling around with strangers where you don't know where they've been and what they've been up to is kind of not really for me right now. I'm glad that a lot of the gyms are open and they're doing their thing, but I'm just, I'm keeping to myself in that aspect. I've started literally a week ago skateboarding, like not longboarding, like short deck, grip tape, skate park, skateboarding.
We're gonna
And
see Brendan
I'll tell you,
Fitzgerald. We're gonna see him on broadcast in 2 weeks with a cast on his hand because he broke his wrist.
so that's the thing. I'm padding up like crazy, and I'm not getting too over my skis in terms of trying tricks or anything like that. But man, it's fun, like just cruising around my neighborhood a little bit and just like trying to ollie here and there. It's it's like
Hey,
I was surprised at how much of a workout I was feeling after doing it for a little bit. I'm just like, well, this is fun, learning something new, having fun. Like I've always liked board, I snowboarded when I was a kid, and I never really skateboarded, but I'll stand up paddleboard when I lived, in Massachusetts by the beach, and my wife's family's, in Hawaii, and she's from Hawaii, so I've done like the surfing and catching waves and all that stuff, but I'm in the middle of a desert. So I'm like, well, let me get a skateboard and see what I can do with this. So that's kind of my workout regimen right now, in addition to just, doing a few push-ups, swinging the kettlebell around when I can, that sort of stuff.
Well,
I'm no Paul Felder.
some advice.
Literally like a pool of sweat in every treadmill he touches at this point.
Well, some advice I would give you if you're picking up skateboarding is, since you're pretty well known, so this is a way better chance of happening to you than it is to me. Tony Hawk has been just going around randomly to well-known people, and nobody recognizes them. So you better just freshen up on Tony Hawk and make sure you recognize him.
you kind of look like
Absolutely.
him.
I know Tony Hawk well. No, I don't think so. That means I'm over 50, so that wouldn't be good.
You could pass for. I mean, you could go for Tony Hawk for Halloween.
Yeah,
I
I
think
appreciate that. I think he's all right.
I think he's a handsome guy. That's not a dig.
I'm not taking it as a dig. I'm just saying, put me on a skateboard and I don't look like him. So
Not yet. Okay, so
not yet.
It is very convenient. We got you on here just a couple of days before this is the last question. We'll get you out of here. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Yeah,
Brendan
thanks,
Fitzgerald, host the Fitz Nation podcast. Find that anywhere you get your podcast, Fitz Nation podcast. Follow him on Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He puts out great content. And also his show on UFC Fight Pass on the line with Yanni the Greek. Jake Paul versus Woodley on Sunday. Who do you got?
Oh yeah. I like Woodley. I think Woodley's like, I don't know, man. I think Woodley's a real athlete, and I don't know if Jake Paul's boxed a real athlete yet. You know what I mean? Like Ben Askren, I shouldn't say that because Ben Askren wrestled in the Olympics, for God's sakes. But Ben Askren was not a boxer. Ben Askren was not peak physical condition. Training. He was off hip surgery. He was, made a bunch of money, and he thought that his minimal kind of skills in the striking realm, because he competed in the UFC and in MMA for a long time, would serve him well. Jake Paul's a big athletic dude. You know what I mean? Like he's this kid who's a YouTuber, yes, but who are we covering in the UFC? We're covering people, and a lot of it is just like, oh, they played high school football and then they got out and they decided college wasn't for them, and then they walked into an MMA gym and they decided that they loved it. Well, as far as I know, Jake Paul played like football in high school. I know his brother Logan wrestled in high school at a high level. They're athletic kids. They grew up playing sports, and now he's obsessed with boxing. So if you took a kid who was like really good on his high school football team, big athletic kind of linebacker type, and then got obsessed with boxing, and he has all the money and time and resources to pursue that passion, then he could be pretty good. You know, he's not.
And just,
it's not
and like what
you
you
know,
were talking about earlier,
right.
going with a personality. If you throw a personality in there too, that gives you
Yeah.
the media all the more reason to cover him.
I just mean, you know, like in terms of not all YouTubers are the same. You know, there are some YouTubers that are just like, you know, whatever, dopey, not athletic, whatever. If you take like a former athlete who has had success in this, who is putting everything that he has right now into boxing because he loves it, then there's a good reason why he's good. There's, you know, there's people that didn't walk into an MMA gym until they were 23, 24 years old. They make it to the UFC. So we can't just like discount this Jake Paul as like, there's no way he can be athletic. He's not, you know, it's just like, no, that's not the case. And he's a lot younger than Woodley. Woodley's like 39 at this point, but I'd like to think a former UFC champion who's known for a powerful punch can fare a lot better than a guy who fought 3 times in the UFC, who's known for his wrestling in a boxing fight. So I think Woodley's motivated. I think he's going to make a lot of money, and I don't know if he's just going to dust him. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be like one punch, get the hell out of here. I think it's going to be a fight, probably. We'll see. Woodley's got to be motivated, though. Woodley's got to kind of go for broke.
He does, and I think 2 reasons I'm picking Woodley to win is one, like you say, it's a fight, and Woodley's a fighter. If it becomes a boxing match, Jake Paul has a distinct advantage. But seeing Woodley today as fired up and mad at the press conference as he was, if that's not just a show, maybe I just got worked, but hey, they got me. I'm buying the pay-per-view now. And I see him. I really, like you said, I don't think he's fighting anybody quite on that caliber yet.
Yeah, not yet. So we'll see. What we'll see is if Jake Paul loses, and if he does get knocked out, we'll see what he wants to do after. And I think he has a rematch just clause. Chasing it, just being like, right. You know, I think he's into the boxing thing. I think that with his personality, he could probably sell fights for another 10 years and then never have to work again.
At the press conference today, he was talking about.
I mean, hell, not even 10 years. He could sell another 2 fights probably and never have to work again. So
he said after Woodley, he's going to fight Tommy Fury.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna get people lining up to fight him because they want to make money too. You know, Ben Askren doesn't care that he won or lost that fight. Ben Askren lost. He made a ton of money, and now he just lives his life. I'll fight him. I'll fight Jake Paul.
There we go.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would come with a bunch of zeros, and I would, you know, it's one fight.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to line up to fight him.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Yeah, Fitzgerald and Jake Paul coming early 2022. Thank you so much, buddy. Can't wait to have you on to preview that fight.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys, for having me. Good to meet you, Kyler. Good to meet you, Josh, and all the best.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, sir. You too.